live the life beyond the boundaries we set on ourselves, to live and to run boundless, to be inspired, to achieve, to overcome the mountaintop in our life. Embrace the journey, become boundless.
Hello, family. Welcome to another episode of the Live Run Boundless podcast show. Today, we have someone who has made a mark in the trail running community the past few years. But before trail running, she grew up in a household of 5 other siblings that participate in other team sports and activity. And in the midst of all those other activity that she participate in, she fell in love with running. And then she has transformed into a passion for trail running. Since then, she had climbed her way to success, to that mountaintop, to that peak. Includes such races as the winner of Hard Rock 100, 2018 endurance race, third runner-up at 2017 Western States, which the Western States definitely is well known in the trail running community. 2019 170K Grand Raid race winner, making history there. And Nolan's 14 winner 2020, which is really big also. So she's a professional trail runner, as you can see. Also, she's a running and fitness coach. So family, let's welcome Miss Sabrina Stanley. So Sabrina, how you doing today?
I'm good. Enjoying winter setting in here.
No, yes, definitely. You see, you got much winter than we have out here in San Diego. So
yeah, I'm sure. I've actually been there once to San Diego, and it was not last May, but the previous one.
Yes.
And everybody we talked to said, like, don't worry about snakes. You're not going to run into any. And in 3 days of trail running, we ran into 3 different rattlesnakes.
Yes.
And I'm not a snake person.
Yes. Yeah, so there you found some rattlesnake around here, back to them summertimes out in the trails, So definitely, So how you adapted to the snow? But loosely growing up in the snow, probably, right?
No, actually, where I grew up in Washington State, we would get like 1 or 2 storms a year, and maybe like if we were lucky, it would last a week and we'd get a foot or 2. And but more typical, it would get like an inch, maybe 2, and it would melt off in a day, maybe. But they would still cancel school for that. Where here, it'll be we'll get 2.5 feet in a day, and they won't plow the roads for 3 days. So you have to have 4-wheel drive, and they would never cancel school here. I mean, I think the school only consists of like 30 kids maybe anyway, so it's pretty small. Okay. But yeah, no, winter's definitely here. We got I think 2 days ago we got roughly 5 inches, and then a week, 2 or 3 days before that we had a few inches as well. So it's coming.
Okay, then that's also that's part of life being out there in Colorado. You got to deal with it, got to live with the snow. Yeah, so
you learn to love it, or you leave.
Yeah, I know. That's funny. So speaking of Washington State, you definitely are well known in the trail running community. You made an accomplishment that you achieved along the way in the trail runner life so far. But this is a lot of life is a process, a journey that you got to where you started at, and before, but. I want to know the journey, the process before you was a trail running, like growing up as a kid. So tell us the family about your journey. Growing up in Washington State.
Yeah, so I grew up directly between Portland and Seattle, like right in the middle there, in a farm community. And I guess like there's a few dairy farms, and logging is like the big industry there. But my dad always had us in team sports, and I always played up with my sister, who's a year and a half older than me. Yeah. So I was always with her girlfriends, and just the age difference, like 5 to 7 or 7 to 9, is pretty substantial. And so I felt like I was always the runt on the team. And like when I played baseball with her, my dad was our coach. And so he would always, like when I was batting, he would encourage me to get hit by the ball because he knew I couldn't hit it with my bat. And so base is like I would like lure the pitchers in, like, you know, lean over the plate and have them hit me. So yeah, like I feel like my dad just and my mom just always encouraged us, you know, rub it off and keep going and whatever you can do to get by. And so yeah, I played fast pitch basketball, volleyball, soccer for a little bit, all through, you know, middle school, or from like 5 years old to high school. Then I went to a community college and played fast pitch and basketball there. And when I was a sophomore in high school, I discovered long distance running, or what I thought was long distance running at that time. And so I started running. Another girl told me she runs 7 miles every day. And so I was like, oh, that's crazy. And so I tried it and I actually fell in love with it. And it was just on roads around my hometown. But I just started running 7 miles every day. And then when I got to community college, I signed up for my first half marathon and just really, really enjoyed it. And so I used it as a way to stay in shape. And so I started doing more half marathons and then marathons. And then when I was 22, I moved to Colorado, and that's when I discovered trail running, and just like it just felt so right, you know, like I had already had that base of running. And so now it was like this whole nother level of like exploration that I could do. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I got my start. And then just wanted to go further and further and signed up for Leadville 100, and my name got drawn. And so I went and ran it in 2015.
Okay, that's awesome. You know, yeah, just you feel like when you got your taste of trail running, you said like, oh, the world seemed right.
Yeah, and like at that time, actually, I was living almost directly across the street from a running store that had opened like that week. I had just moved into this apartment, and you know, roughly that same time frame, the store across the street was a trail running store, and they had opened up the same time I moved. And so I went in there and met the owner, and she really encouraged me to start doing some group runs and like a little race series around town. So I tried that, and yeah, so that was kind of like when the door was open, that, oh, there's this huge community around trail running that I didn't know existed.
Okay. Yeah, so you kind of like your parents, you know, just have like sibling, it kind of bring that competition and competitive nature out of you to help you to become who you are right now, you say?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, my mom and dad growing up, they were like super competitive with each other. Like, it's not the safest, but if they like both happen to be in different vehicles and we're both heading to the same place, they would like race there. So like anytime we were both heading home and they had the separate vehicles, they would race, and like we would, you know, get in whoever's car we thought would win and encourage them to drive recklessly, I guess. And then, yeah, I mean, I have 4 little brothers, even though they're all bigger than me now. And they were all super competitive in their respective sports. And so I always kind of wanted to like hang with the boys and do what they were doing. And so, yeah, that when I found long distance running, I just like, I felt like I could never really compete at like lifting weights, or even like I didn't have the jumping skills in basketball, or even like handles, I guess. And so like, I just could not keep up with them on the court. I really hope they don't listen to this. But so when I found trail running and long distance, I was like, oh, like I can be really good at this. And I'm not so much competing with them anymore. Like this is my thing.
Yeah. You guys have your own little world, or, you know, a little place, you know. Yeah. So that's
for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So going back to that Leadville 100, you know, Ben got a DNF. Well, not DNF, but was this?
No, I did. I DNF'd my first one, in 2015.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, that's all. That left a sour taste in your mouth, I guess. But after that, it's like you had a major move happen in your life. That major move take you to New York City. So what was that journey like? You know, what convinced you to come back to Colorado after your time in New York?
Yeah. So when I moved to Colorado, that's when I discovered trail running. And then I moved to this tiny little town. It was a ski town. Well, I thought it was tiny at the time. It's called Breckenridge. And I didn't grow up skiing, so I didn't know, like, I don't know, Breckenridge is, I guess, like a really big ski town that I've obviously figured out from living there. But so I just started applying to jobs everywhere and landed a few. And one of them was at Bubblegum Shrimp Company, and I was a server.
Yeah.
And so I just like want to be the best at everything. And so I wanted to be the best server. And so I became like a trainer of other servers. And then I wanted to, you know, work my way up through management. And so I did that, their like whole management program. And then I talked to my regional manager and I said, you know, like basically not how do I get your job, but like, you know, how do I keep climbing this ladder so that I can grow with the company?
Yeah.
And so he laid out, you know, their top, you know, I forget how many stores, like 4 or 5 stores. And he said, these are biggest locations. And I think you do really well here. And, you know, think about it and see where you want to move. And so New York City just hit my eye. And so they have a location in Times Square, and I'm like, I'll move there. And I had never even visited New York City. And so I moved there 2 days after my Leadville 2015 attempt. And I could barely walk, and I was like trying to pack, and, you know, how do I move my stuff cross country, and like, what can I fly with, and what can I ship home, and, you know, all the logistics of it. And I ended up in New York and was there for 8 months total. And I was the training manager. And I did love it, but the city just didn't seem like a permanent place for me to be. And I haven't been back to visit, but I'd really like to go. But yeah, after those 8 months, I just, you know, really felt the need to go back to Colorado. And I put my name back in for Leadville for 2016, and it had been drawn. And I told myself, if your name gets picked for Leadville 2016, like, you have to put everything you possibly can into being successful at this race. And so I moved back to Colorado, and I contacted this guy named Avery Collins, and I'm like, hey, can you teach me how to run? And we grabbed a beer, and I just like really spent that summer learning how to run trails and mountains and pacing and nutrition and just, you know, all the basics that come with ultra running that I'd skipped the first go around.
Okay. Awesome. That's great, you know. And just find your way back home where you belong, you know. So definitely. You know, so in between that, I think we got a special guest that's trying to come in. Who that special guest could be. And they find out and see, you know. I want to join. Like, skip ahead a little bit and come back. But Sabrina, who the special guest we have here? Can you see him?
I don't.
You don't see him?
No. Is it my screen I need to change maybe? No.
What's up, Kenneth?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, hi, Ann.
Sabrina. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Yeah. It's crazy. It's warm again in San Diego, Sabrina. It got up to 75 yesterday. So
oh, that must be our heat wave. I was telling Kenneth that we have a heat wave coming. It's supposed to be 50 to get today, and I think for the following week. So it's probably yours just making its way this way.
So thank you for joining us.
Kenneth, where are you?
Go ahead.
Kenneth, where are you?
Oh, San Diego, Chula Vista.
Oh, okay. You're local. All right.
Yes. So definitely. Yeah. So Sabrina, I just had a special guest. I kind of like what Carmen say on Instagram, you know. That's all you do, and just tried to connect with with Ben first. And so they just say they want we're gonna interview you. And so they say they don't want to like join for a little bit.
Awesome.
So I know they're one of your sponsors or something like that, you know. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been with Muir. I think this is the 3rd year, if
awesome.
if I'm correct.
Yeah. So
and we got connected. I don't know if you remember, Sabrina, but there was Vertical Runner, and I think in Breckenridge.
Yeah, I was telling Kenneth about that. There's a running store in Breckenridge right across the street from where I was living, and I ended up working there. And then I think I'd already moved to Steamboat when they brought in Muir, but my old boss there, he was like, hey, this company, you know, they just came in and they have this product, and I think you'd be really good for them. I think that's how it occurred, and then we got met up that way.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So y'all been together ever since. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
We've also-
actually, Dean, the guy that connected us, he still crews all my hundreds.
Oh, for real?
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a staple in my success.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I think all of us need that support, and that support system, so yeah. So we're just going to the journey, the process, of I just coming back to Colorado, and just about returning to your passion and running, and how you learn to appreciate it so much more, but how you learn to appreciate what you do so much more, how you learn that, what the process behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like by nature you really enjoy that struggle. And so in 2015, when I DNF'd at 87, it's like, oh, I need to learn how to master this. Like this is a new challenge for me. So how can I be successful at it? And I really think if I had finished that race and like come in middle of the pack or, just done whatever, then I would have said, oh, this is my ability. And I would have continued to do that for the rest of my life because I was successful or like as successful as I thought I could be. And so when I failed, that just gave me that drive to like really, really perfect everything. So when I go back the next time, I know without a doubt, however I finish is the best I could have done. And so when I had really good results from that, then I'm like, oh, I'm starting to figure this out and I can really take this somewhere if I work this hard, for years instead of just a summer, or, start taking notes on these books and just like drilling for knowledge really from as many sources as possible, as well as my own experiences. And so I think that's where I really started to see that this is something that I could be successful at.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, just stick it with and just really just see know that you could become who you are, and just having that passion behind it to really just I guess push yourself. If I'm saying that right. And so far in your life, for trail running, my side trail running, what have been your biggest accomplishment as a runner in your life so far?
Oh, my biggest accomplishment. I feel I'll say Nolan's. I feel like that's like such a give me answer. Like it's so obvious to me, but yeah, I would say without a doubt Nolan's. And I feel like the magnitude of Nolan's is still setting in. And when I talked to my boyfriend Avery about it, like it's still, I don't know how to describe this. Like I was so, the first time I did it, like I'm going to do it and see what happens and go from there. And I did think I was going to do it again if somebody beat my record. And so when my record was beat, then you come to the realization like, oh, like, can I go out and do it again? Like, is that possible? Because I've never done anything that big back to back. And I mean, before Nolan's, I'd never ran past 31 hours. And so to run just over 51 hours and then to be confronted just a month later, like, can you push your body that far again? Like, are your knees going to hold up? Is your back going to hold up? The whole slew of questions that come with that. And then just like the internal fear of, are you mentally, can you like mentally visit that place again so soon without properly recovering? And so I kind of just started making moves without thinking, like, cause I knew if I thought about it, then that doubt would creep in. So I just started telling people I was going to do it. I talked to Adidas about it and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Like, what are your thoughts on it? And I started, researching weathered patterns and to see if it was possible in that regard, and, how many hours of dark, and then how cold it was going to be on some of the summits. And also, I just really quizzed Avery, my boyfriend, because I really respect his opinion, what he thought about it, because he's done a few 200-mile races. And so it was nice to get his input. And I don't know if he was totally on board, but I knew, like, he saw I was probably going to do it no matter what he said. So he just, was super supportive. So once I had told, enough people in my inner circle that, I'm probably going to go do it, now you can't really back out. And Yeah, so just turn your brain off and keep the wheels moving, and that honestly was how round 2 went. Because I did want it really bad, but at the same time, I didn't want to think about it, and I don't want to say I wanted to get it over with, but I wanted to be on the other side of that challenge.
Yeah.
And to know I could do it.
Okay. So that was your second time doing it this year? So
Yeah. So I did it. I finished, I think August 10th, my first attempt, and I finished my second attempt October 3rd.
Okay.
So there's from the start of my first attempt to the finish of my second was 54 days.
Okay. Wow, that's great. You know, it just sort of what you accomplished, you know. And so it definitely take a great support system, and having him at the end, Mer Energy there with us, you know. How having that support system like him, you know, and then the company, how did it help you along the way, you know?
Well, can you rephrase your question? I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, that's Sabrina. How to have support system like you and your company, you know, for having that support system, how has that been for you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I like to stick with companies, and I like to be really, really loyal. And once I like find a product, like there's no reason to change. And so, Mir was the first like running gel, which to call it a gel isn't even like really appropriate. I feel like 'cause it's a different substance. But to have a company that's like all natural ingredients, and there's a few ingredients, like there's 3 or 4 ingredients, and you know them all, and they're probably all in your kitchen already. And just to have that comfort level with Mir, and then to run, and most of their gels, they range in calorie count, but I like those higher calorie count ones. If it's over 100 miles, you can carry less fuel with you. And so, yeah, when I found Mir, it's like, oh, like I love the people around this company. I love the product. And so, yeah, we just started working together, and
nice.
Yeah, I think that I've had a few conversations with Ian, not recently, but I remember one specifically where I think we were talking about my contract and like race bonuses and stuff. And he's like, no, don't even worry about it. Like, we know you're always going to try your best no matter what. And so like, we don't even need to like incentivize you with race bonuses. 'Cause like, we know, like, we don't need to push you any harder. Like, we understand your competitive drive. And I think to have a company that's behind you in that regard, and like understands who you are as an athlete and like what you're trying to accomplish, is key. And so that was kind of like a turning point for me. Like, okay, like I can be whoever I want to be, and they're going to back me. And like, I hate saying this, but like, it's okay for a female to be competitive. Like, it shouldn't even have to be said, but to have Mir on board for that was really cool.
Okay. So I'm going to go to Median and from right quickly. So what do you saw in Sabrina to say that you want to have her part of your team?
Well, just a beautiful spirit, somebody who was very honest and sincere, had a really, you know, admirable kind of work ethic. And I think we're a very, very small company, so we don't have the resources that a lot of bigger companies have. So, and just the way that Sabrina and I described kind of how we actually met, it's like a tiny store, you know, running store at the top of, you know, I think it was claimed to be the highest elevation running store in the country. It was like over 8,000 feet. But it was so small and so personal and intimate, right? And I think that is still part of the Mir Energy spirit as we grow, but keeping a very close personal relationship with people, and just starting small, having a very long-term view of things. You know, Dean, the running store manager, spoke so highly of Sabrina and Avery. Like, these are really talented people who have, you know, a long career in front of them. And so it started with that. And then I think what was also really important for me, Kenneth, was to find people who were like sincerely appreciative of the product. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm getting free product and, you know, and that's it. But there was a sincere interest in what we were doing and how. And, you know, Sabrina is just a beautiful human being, and talented, driven, fair, you know, and is just a great representation of who I want Mir Energy to be in the world. So I feel really, really fortunate. And our relationship just keeps growing. There's an openness and a communication about who we are, where we're going, what we need. And I keep kind of telling her like what the Mirror Energy vision is and how it's kind of manifesting. And so, but just as a slight digression. So, the great accomplishment for Sabrina was Nolan 14. And we were just, I mean, beyond impressed, Sabrina. But the way Mirror Energy started, I'm an ultra distance hiker. And so for me, the whole origin for Mirror Energy started with my interest in the John Muir Trail, which from one end to the other is about 220 miles. And I don't know, Sabrina thought the same way, like, I'm going to do Nolan 14. I'm just going to see what happens. I went to start the John Muir Trail, like my first long hike, to see, well, how long is it going to take? People were taking about 21 days on average to do it. And I trained for it, got kind of fit. And suddenly I found that I was doing 20, 24 mile days. I'm like, oh my God, I could do this in 10 days. And so I did. And then there was like that excitement, and maybe Sabrina's the same way. Like, you do something for the first time, it's like the first pancake. You realize like how many things you're not doing great. Like, oh my God, if I had to do this again, I would do this and this and this to do it better. And so for me, it was like a year later that I decided to kind of try the John Muir Trail again and see if I could maybe even do it faster or better. And it was the same thing. So being like, I had to I'm like, okay, it's not a trivial thing. It's still, it's an 8 or 9 day thing. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go for a couple hours. So I kind of started building that accountability by telling people I was gonna do this, so that there was no easy way to back out. And so I started it. And Sabrina, I don't know if this was your impression the second time on Nolan, but I started the John Muir Trail the second time, like, okay, I know more, I'm better. And that kind of enthusiasm brought me only so far. And then I was like, fuck, this is still a really long hike, And it became very real. Like, so even though I had this added information, and I was more prepared, I still had a very long distance to go, and up and down, and you're dealing with all these elements that, from one year to the next were totally different. I'm like, I remember there's a lot of water here, now there's not, or, now there's snow over here, there wasn't before. And like, the conditions are so dynamic. I think that's part of what makes what Sabrina does so fun, is that it's really dynamic. And, you come in prepared. And I think really as a professional, like you kind of just have that kind of grinding mentality to just prevail. So,
well, thank you. Thank you so much. You're gonna make me blush.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a great story. Great story. Yes. And you continue to make history. You make history before Nolan, also. And we're going to go back to the year 2019, and when you make history and becoming the first American male or female to win the 170K grand raid. In 29 years, that race started. Also, you're the fastest runner ever to run the Nolan 14 by 1 hour and 43 minutes. So just both of these experiences, what does it mean for you to make history and become the first at anything?
I mean, to be honest, that's not really when I did Grand Raid, I didn't even know that was like a statistic I was going after or a goal, because I signed up, I heard about it through the grapevine from this woman, and she likes to do really gnarly races as well. And she was like, it's Hurt and Hard Rock combined. And I'd ran Hurt twice at this point, and had done Hard Rock, and I was like, oh, that sounds like it's right up my alley. And so I was looking for a fall race, and that race popped up as an option. I'm like, there's a 100K one that I was really looking at, because I didn't want to do another 100 right after Hard Rock, and Hard Rock ended up getting canceled that year. So I had signed up for the 100, because if I'm going to fly to the other side of the world, I might as well do like the big show. And so I showed up there, and I think when I showed up there, that's when a few different outlets back in the US were like, oh, she's going to go out there and do it. Because before, my name was just on the list, and then who knows if you actually make the trip. So once I got there, that was actually when I first heard for one of those media sources that I if I did well, then I could be the first. I think Jason Schlarb had taken 7th a few years back. But I know Jim Walmsley had been out there and tried to run it as well. Joe Grant has been out there. So a few elite men had gone out there and tried to play their cards. And so when I found out the farthest an American had gone down the list was 7th place, I'm like, oh, I think I can do that. And so obviously I don't just want to do that. I want to try and win. And so started, studying splits. I mean, I'd been studying them for a while, but like maybe I can make something happen here. And the first 50 miles was really, really rough. It would have been really easy for me. I mean, not to get too graphic, but I had a huge rookie year, and I had 2 tablespoons of table salt because I had ran out of salt tabs, and I was just trying to get sodium back in my body. Wow. And I did it the wrong way. Then I swallowed that down with Coke. And so I made this volcano in my stomach. And so I had stuff coming out of both ends, and it was just a nightmare. And so I just told myself, like, keep moving forward, take as many breaks as you need to use the restroom or throw up. And this will pass. Like, there's only so much stuff in your body that you can get rid of. And then about, I would say, so the race starts at 10 p.m. if I remember right. And 10 p.m. So I'd say it wasn't until 1 or 2 the next afternoon that I was like, okay, I feel good and I can run. And so once I was able to run again, then I had saved my legs because I wasn't pushing. And so I had a lot of energy, and I was able to start, clicking off people. And that gives you even more adrenaline and more energy that you're passing people. And, the last 50 miles went really well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a way of just overcoming and just like, man, just, whew, that was a lot.
Well, I mean, to get out there, we kind of took our time, but we left Monday morning, I think at 5 a.m. and we didn't arrive to our Airbnb until Thursday at 3. And so there's no way I'm going to travel 4 days and then DNF this race. So I'm at least going to finish. I don't know where, but I'm just going to keep pushing. And then when I come back, if I don't finish, well, then I can come back a different year and have that base of knowledge already underneath me. But I kind of have this thing where I like to win. And if I don't win, I want to come back and repeat that race at some point. So to be able to win there and not be like, oh, I have to come back, even though it's a beautiful island, it's just logistically getting there takes so long. And there's so many other beautiful races that I would like to do as well. So to be able to check that one off felt really good. Yeah.
And so, and after realizing that you make history, I mean, and you're trying to reflect on it, what does it mean for you, that you've done something like that?
I don't think it really sinks into that level.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really cool. It's something I'm definitely proud of, and an experience that I'm going to have and memories that I'll have for the rest of my life. And, but it's not like I dwell on, I'm the first woman or the first person or the first American or whatever to do this. It was just like, oh man, that was an amazing race and some incredible trails I got to run, and it ended best case scenario. So I'm just appreciative for that. But I don't think I really think about it in those terms as I don't know.
Oh yeah, I got you. Everybody different. Everybody I guess they see it differently for just making history, or just about just doing something special. Now, but if it was special, maybe just a lot of people, know that you've done something like that, Yeah, so that's great, and just, how about you look at that the same way doing the Nolan 14 and being the fastest woman to finish that race? I don't know.
It's Nolan's 14. It was such a labor of love that I mean, to spend months and months training for the August attempt and for the August attempt to go off successful. I mean, I knew when I finished it, I said right off the bat, I could really improve by hours on that time. And I even told Avery the very next day or 2 days later, we were driving home and we were looking at the mountains, and I said, don't you just ever wish that you could go back out there the next day with a fresh body with the same knowledge and reattempt it? You obviously can't change the past because that was your learning experience. But if I knew then what I knew now, I mean, I could put up this really solid effort
Okay.
But at the same time, like, I'm not going to go redo this again. You know, I said, I'm not going to go break my own record. We'll just wait and see what happens. Yeah. So when the record was broke, I was talking to my girlfriend about this. It's almost like, say you spend your entire year studying for this final exam. You do the final exam and you crush it. And then a month later, your professor says, actually, like, the tests were lost and we need you to retake the test, and you haven't been studying for that month. You have completely wiped all the knowledge out of your brain.
Right.
And now, like, even though like you want to go down that career path and you want to take that exam, it was already done and out of your mindset, and you're already like looking forward. And so to almost go back in time and say, okay, now I have to like refocus, buckle down and study again for another month.
Yeah.
It's just a hard pill to swallow. And so, yeah, I'm really proud that I went back out there, because there was, you know, that question that you don't dwell on. Like, nobody would blame me if I just let it go and you know, like kept my one attempt and rode that out, or even mid second attempt, you know, get to mountain 4 or 5 and say, my legs just aren't having it. Like, I'm not as recovered as I thought I was. Like, I know for a fact there's not a single person, sponsors or crew, that would have questioned me or, you know, told me I could have done better, or that I should stay out there. And so you can't even voice those thoughts, or you can't even like let your brain dwell on them. You just have to move past them. And so I am really proud of my second Nolan's attempt for that reason. Because I don't think I've ever mastered my mind in quite that way. And so Nolan's is special to me in that way.
Okay, then that's all. So it's just more mental than physical. Yeah, so, with that, you know.
For sure.
Okay. And learn to push your own self, you know. And so with that, also take help, you know, also, you know. So with that, who are the people in your life that kind of push you or drive you to be better?
Without a doubt, I have to give I would say I'll give myself 51% credit and Avery 49. Yeah, I'm the majority shareholder, but he's pretty equal with me. Yeah, from the moment I met Avery, like I said, I wanted to pick his brain and I wanted to know everything there was to know about ultra running. So at that point I had read a ton of books, and I had even attempted my first 100, but I just felt like there was so much missing. And so to be able to train with him and see, I spent, to this day, so years, running behind him and studying how he plants his feet running uphill, and his gait, and how often he trains and how many miles a week he's getting in, and, you know, his recovery runs, his tempo runs, and just really like being a student of his training process. And then, you know, growing myself as well, and to keep reading those books and to keep watching other successful runners. And then, so like I said, Avery deserves so much credit for where I'm at in all the success I've had. And, you know, then on top of that, not that they're any less, but, you know, my brothers and my sister and my parents and my sponsors and just everybody that's in that, like your small little circle, like those are your people, and those are the people that matter to me. And I like to keep my circle small. And there's definitely a huge plethora of people that have crewed me and paced me and helped in any kind of way to get me to where I am.
Well, that's great. You need that support system, you know, that little push, you know, to help you along the way, you know, along that process, or somebody along the way that kind of help you to get going, you know, from your childhood up to where you are right now, you know, where your family or your parents, you know, your siblings, and Avery, and just to have that support system definitely means a lot, you know. So that's why.
Without a doubt. Yeah, my parents, I feel like any ambition I had, they never, you know, told me no. They just kind of like laughed at it like I was crazy if it was crazy, and then would see if I could do it. But they never, you know, like tried to put me in a lane and say, hey, we want you to do this, this, and this, and you know, what else. So yeah, just that support system and letting you find your own way, I think was crucial in growing up.
That's cool. And so far, what had been your most challenging life experience that you had to overcome, a hill that you had to climb so far in your life?
Yeah, we're gonna get deep here. I don't know how much, but I would say like one like I would say like I don't know, the turning point in my life that like I can accomplish anything I want to. My parents got divorced when I was 17, and they were married when they were 18, and so like a month after high school they got married, and then when they had been married 17 years, and so when I maybe 19 anyway, when I was 17 they got a divorce. And I think they were both kind of like sowing wild oats, like because they got married right out of high school. And so there was I won't go into like super details, but there was a 10-year span where I didn't talk to my mother. And so just kind of like feeling like, okay, I'm on my own now. And there's no one that's like gonna check up on me. There's no one that's calling to see if I'm okay. I'm gonna figure this out and you know, be successful as I can be. And so when I realized that I know it sounds kind of silly, but like do it without my mom, like that's when I realized, or that's, you know, like when I felt like I really grew up, and like I can do anything in the world. You know what I mean? Like I can pick any career path. I can go to any college, like whatever you want to do, as long as you like set your mind to it, you can accomplish that. And so it was kind of the mindset I went out with. And so I'd say, yeah, when I was 17, you know, that divorce, I guess, like shaped me. And I almost hate that answer, but it's true. Like that 10 years made me, I think, who I am. And, you know, back to Avery, if I hadn't met him, he's the one that's like, you should call your mom. Like you should rekindle that relationship. And, you know, it's still worth something. And so, yeah, I would say, you know, everything's all good now, and it's beautiful. But again, like Avery has been I should not, I know this is a running podcast and not a love one, but he has been such a light in my life.
That's okay. You know, running life, you know, it's about running life together. You know, I mean, running for myself, I don't talk to me about myself, not about me, but about running, it just helped me and just in life generally, you know, just overcoming, just really sticking with something. You know, I was going to school, you know, it just like running as far like meditation, all that, you know, it just helped me just to stick with it through the rough time, and just really every time I go up a hill and just the grind to go up the hill, you just have like, man, you could do, you know, just running a life. Use the hand.
Just like in an ultra, like you ride out those first 50 miles and it's going to be really good. So you just got to keep hanging on.
Yeah, yes, definitely. My next question is something you already talked about during this whole time already, how your family, friends, the companies that you're with or your sponsor, how they supported you on that journey. You know, and so just making sure how have all your family, friends, company, how have that supported you in your journey, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think just having that belief in you, to know that you can do it. And like I said, I like to keep my circle small because I like the people in my circle to be, I mean, you should surround yourself with people who are successful, who are supportive, who push you. And I would say every single person in my circle, I would say, you know, fits the bill for all three of those. And so, you know, I mean, for Mir to stick with me for 3 years, I want to say when I signed with Mir, I don't know if that was before or after Western, I can't remember, to be honest, but my running resume was really small. And I knew where I wanted to go, and to have them like, okay, like, you know, we'll support you and however you can get there. And yeah, so I'd say, like, yeah, just keeping your circle small and having like the utmost trust in those people. And anytime I have like a big adventure going on, and I can call my brother and he says, you know, tell me when to book a flight and I'll be there. Like people like that, I think it's not a single sport, it's a single person sport. It's definitely a team. And so you have to build a really good team around you of quality people and companies. And
definitely. I realized that, you know, some of the people I know personally who done like ultra marathons and stuff like that here in San Diego area, you know, that have that team with them, you know, and the community. It's all about team and community from trail running, you know. So And so I got to throw a quick shout out to a good friend of mine, Miss Erica Cunningham. You know, she's a big fan of yours. You know, and she's pregnant right now. You know, but she done a couple hundred, got like 100 miler. So Miss Erica Cunningham too. So yeah, so she's a big fan. You know, of yours.
Yeah. Well, nice to meet you, Erica.
Yeah. So she's looking forward to see this interview also. Yeah. So yes. So when was that light bulb moment when you realized that running was your calling, you know, or you realize, say, I know I'm a professional runner, that you can do this for a living?
Yeah, when I discovered, I call it long distance running, when I discovered you could run more than a mile or two. So when I was running 7 miles a week, I fell in love with it. I knew at that point, I think that running was going to be a part of my life forever. I didn't know it was going to progress into what it is today. But I knew, you know, from that point, you know, I was going to be doing half marathons or marathons. And for a few years, my goal was to qualify for Boston. So that was the number one focus. And I was going to have like a career on the side and do that. And then when I moved to Breckenridge and I discovered trail running, I really fell in love with it. Yeah. And then to fail and go back. And so when I did Leadville the second time, I told Avery, you know, I think I can do top 10 here. And I said, don't laugh at me and don't think I'm crazy, but I think top 10 is possible.
Okay.
And I came in 4th that year. And my other goal besides top 10 was I wanted to break 24 hours. And so I went, I think it was 22:27. So to hit both those goals and not only hit them, but to really knock them out. And then also to see what I accomplished over that summer and just that one summer. So then I wanted to do a early winter race or winter race. And I ended up doing Sean O'Brien 100K, and it just by happenstance, there was no planning here. It was a golden ticket race. And so I won a golden ticket to Western States.
Nice.
And when I got my golden ticket, now you're like really on a stage, I feel like, going into Western. And even though I wasn't, because nobody knew who I was or anything like that, I still had that pressure. Like, I won a golden ticket. And so now I have to like prove why I won this ticket and why I deserve this entry into Western States with bypassing the lottery. And I remember like a month out, I just had a really good training run, and I texted Dean and I said, I'm going to podium. And he's like, okay, you know, like whatever you say. And so I, again, just studied it and, you know, other past successful runners in that race and their pace and their splits. And so I showed up to race day and was just going to follow my plan. And my pace sheet was set out. I want to say it was, I think I hit it on the nose. I think my pace sheet was set for 20 hours and 11 minutes, and I finished in 20 hours and 11 minutes. Oh, wow. And so then you look at yourself and you're like, oh, was I like putting a governor on myself? Was I like holding myself back? You know, because I was following this pace sheet. Could I have gone faster? And so just that mentality of how much faster can I do this puzzle? Just like keeps repeating. And then you find yourself here today.
There you go. Yeah, you know, because you kind of like under the radar. You know, we got to the Western State, nobody didn't know who you were, and nobody know about you. You know, and so they did the day before. You know, they do the pre-race briefing, and they announce the top 20 men and women, or roughly 20 depending on the year, that they think will place. And so they announced the top 20 women, and I didn't get mentioned. And so like my ego was like, wait, I won a golden ticket. Like, what's going on here? And I earned my way here. And so I think you just kind of like take those, like you make that into something in your mind, like, okay, now I have to go prove myself, because they don't believe now. So I need to show them who I am. I like that mentality. You know, I was like the mama mentality about it now.
Well, I like it more too. I almost like coming in as like the underdog or the girl nobody knows and then doing really well. I'd rather go in that way than go in as somebody that's really well known and then not perform.
I know.
I think that's a huge fear. Like you have to performing now. Like now there's an expectation.
Yes, yeah. So that's great. I love the story, how you come out of nowhere, in the trail running community and just make your mark, and continue to make your mark, So that's great. Talking on a much lighter note. So out of your 5 siblings, who the best athlete right now?
Am I taking myself out of this category? It's just those 5, or am I included?
Well, you can put yourself in that category. I mean,
I'm always gonna bet on myself. You have to.
okay.
They would definitely argue that, but I'm full on Team Sabrina. But
Okay.
to give them a little credit, I had one brother that went over to Germany and played on like the German NFL team or whatever it's called there.
Yeah.
And so then I had one who has a full ride at, I believe it's Portland State. I always get them confused, or University of Portland, whichever one has the baseball team.
Okay.
So he is a pitcher for them.
Nice.
And so, yeah, and then I like all my brothers are very talented in their own way, in different sports, but I would have to give myself, if there was an award, the best athlete of the family.
Okay. It's all good. It's all good. That's cool. That's great. So how was like outside running? I mean, who's Sabrina's outside running? We're not running up and down trails and stuff like that.
I would say I'm an introvert, but I can be social. But I love reading and just being outside. So even though I don't ski as often as I would like to, just because I enjoy running more, I ski from time to time. This is gonna sound kind of silly, but I like to say I'm like a nice mix of like Michael Scott from The Office and David Goggins. So like 2 like very polar opposite characters, but yeah, so I don't know, I think I'm funny, I think I like to have fun and be carefree, but when it comes to running, like it's business, and it's not like I think people like misconstrue what I mean by that, and they think I don't enjoy running because I'm so serious about it, but it's a passion that like I want to perfect, and I want to be the best, and I want to see how far I can go, and so it's not that I'm not having fun. It's just, I think you have to have a certain mindset to accomplish a certain list of goals. And I think I'm very aware of what my body's capable of. And I want to see how far I can take that.
Yeah. I felt the same way, I mean, when I was like, when I was overweight, for, military standard a few years ago. And I realized that, how much I need to change. I see how my body changed, my mind changed, and how I could like really, if I push myself, what I could do, and continue to do, continue to push myself. Yeah, so it's amazing. Yeah.
It's really amazing what the body can do, especially if you can master the mind. And that's the biggest hurdle.
Yes.
Everything else is easy. You just have to like convince yourself that it's possible, or not think about the alternatives. Like you just have to know for a fact this is what's going to happen and make it happen. Yes,
definitely, and you're doing what you love and loving what you do, so hey, definitely if I can be running a job, hey, I would do it. If I can't do it. I'm not your level.
Well, we talk about, because I worked like a typical 9 to 5 for quite a few years while I was trying to like climb my way up. And so to go through like winters in Colorado, especially, and work all day and then get off and then start your run in the dark and still have to get in 20 miles and then, get back and get, 5-6 hours of sleep, and then wake up, go to work. And then like those heavy mileage weeks when you have a job, they're so hard. And so when I meet people who have kids and do it like that blows my mind. There's no way.
Yeah, definitely. I understand. And so we come to an end. They live around Boundless. So what is your boundless start to motivation?
My what?
Boundless.
Oh, like my motivation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, motivation and thought. Yeah.
I really wanted to look back at my career in X amount of years and feel like I accomplished every single goal. And I know that's a really tall order. So yeah, I would say that's my like number one motivation is to get to the end and be really proud of what I accomplished, as well as the longevity of it. I would like to be competitive, you know, as long as my body allows me to be. It would be incredible to have a 20-year career, and to really make this into something and not just have it be like a snapshot in my life. Although like running isn't my life, I would like, it brings me so many opportunities that I would like to ride this train as long as I possibly can.
Okay, then that's great. Yeah. And so what meant for you to, like, one more? Sorry, my last question, but one more. So what meant for you to like inspire other people, you know, the impact you have on other people, what it means to you? You know, that other people.
I mean, I think everybody has something that they want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And the only reason that they're not accomplishing that is because they're not working towards it, maybe because of the fear of getting started. But once you get started, it becomes so much easier because you get that momentum. So I think writing down goals or like having a list in your head or just visually seeing that and knowing the path. And the path can change as you get more knowledge, but you know, setting out a list of like, I'm going to do this year and this year and this year, and, you know, have short-term and long-term goals, and then, you know, slowly chip away at those. And it's such a cliche saying, but you know, the time's going to pass no matter what. And so whether you're doing what you want to do or you're not, like, the time is still moving. So you might as well just get started, even if you think your goal is 20 years down the road. Like if you don't start today, then you're still 20 years away. But if you start today, then you're only 19 years and X amount of days away, you know? So I would say don't write yourself off for anything. Like all you have to do is make a plan.
Okay, so just get started, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And just thank you, Sabrina, just for the time to be with me and the Live Run Boundless family. And thank you from the end, Mirror Energies, for joining in. It was a great surprise, was I know, for Sabrina, to have you to jump in this interview also. So I'm definitely just gratitude for this opportunity, like to interview you, Sabrina, and also with you, Ms. Dean. And so also thank you, family, just for another episode of the Live Run Boundless show. Live a life beyond the boundaries that you set on yourself. And I believe Sabrina had that lived our life for living below the boundaries, you know. So yes, so thank you. And until next time, Live Run Boundless family. See you soon.
Thank you, Kenneth. It was so nice to see you, Ann.
You too, Sabrina. Thank you, Kenneth.
Yes.